Hello, everybody, and this is Two Bros Doing Shows. Unfortunately, my compatriot John is sick today, so it is just going to be me, Gary, covering the second half of the week. First of all, one of the things, and one of the most important things I wanted to cover from SmackDown this past Tuesday was Dolph Ziggler gave an open challenge on SmackDown to anyone on Raw for the Intercontinental Championship. After beating the snot out of Kurt Hawkins in like 2-3 seconds. I mean, it might have been a little longer than that, but he hit him with the super kick and then won. He put out this challenge. Now, there have been pictures of the Survivor Series poster with Sami Zayn on it. Yet Sami Zayn has yet to be named for anything at Survivor Series. In my opinion, right here, folks, that is, if it is Sami Zayn versus Dolph Ziggler, you have yourself one of the biggest barn burners in history, because we all know from matches that Sami Zayn has had with Kevin Owens, matches that Sami Zayn has had with Shinsuke Nakamura, matches that Sami Zayn has had with Finn Balor. And I don't care if they were in NXT, and I don't care if they were from Battleground or before. They were incredible matches. And this guy knows how to put on a match, and incredible matches. He even made Braun Strowman look good. So as far as I am concerned, let him have this match with Ziggler, because we know that Ziggler also knows how to put on a match. Ziggler sat there and put on one of the best matches of the night at No Mercy when he fought The Miz for the Intercontinental title. I can't even put into words how much I would love to see that match, because those two would tear the house down at Survivor Series if that happens. As far as the Survivor Series teams, Raw, as of this point, is Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens, and Chris Jericho, and Braun Strowman, and a big fat question mark. A lot of people want that to be Seth Rollins. If it is Sami Zayn, I'm not going to be complaining, but I would much rather see him take that open challenge from Dolph Ziggler. If the Intercontinental title is going to be one of the only titles that is defended at Survivor Series, then yeah, let Sami Zayn finally have a little bit of spotlight. Because WWE, they fucked up with Neville. Neville could have been one of their premier athletes, and they made him look like a douchebag. And I don't mean a douchebag in terms of you're a jerk. I mean a douchebag in terms of you suck. So, honestly, I don't want to see that happen to Sami Zayn. Not after those matches he had leaving NXT. No, he's better than that, and he's worth more than that. And WWE needs to take a look at their assets and really watch some videotape on their WWE network that's only $9.99 for the 15th millionth time of hearing that shit, and really understand that a guy like Braun Strowman is not worth shit to that company. Now, the males right now, as we've seen for the SmackDown brand, are Randy Orton, Baron Corbin, Bray Wyatt, Dean Ambrose, AJ Styles, and I have to be honest. I can't complain with that team. I think Baron Corbin is a questionable choice, but he is getting better. I think AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose and Bray Wyatt are incredible choices. Randy Orton is very questionable. A lot of people in that last spot for Raw, they want to see Seth Rollins. And really, what they want to see is a Shield reunion where the three of them from both teams, because you'd have one on one team and two on the other, just see them get together and just fuck up everyone in that ring and just leave it as the Shield has returned, screw everyone. It would make me a very happy man if that ends up being the case. Because I hate to say it, but they buried Bray Wyatt. There's no bringing Bray Wyatt back at this point because that air of mystique that Bray Wyatt used to have, he doesn't have anymore. In terms of Braun Strowman, boo. I don't care. Jericho's a part-timer. I mean, I love the things that he's done. The list is incredible. Was an incredible gimmick for this year, but it'll be forgotten by next year. And Kevin Owens, he'll survive a loss like this. Kevin Owens is so up with the fans, it's insane. So this males match, it's losing its mystique with me, and I'm disappointed by it. Now, the tag team match right now, it stands that New Day is the captain right now, and the rest is to be determined. I mean, granted, it's pretty much already decided who the teams are going to be because of the lack of tag teams on Raw, but you don't need it to be determined to know who the tag teams are going to be. SmackDown's tag teams are going to be Slater and Rhino, the Hype Bros, American Alpha, the Usos, and to be announced. They have a few more tag teams that they can go with, but they're not quite, again, they're not entirely as malleable as Raw either, because they only have so many tag teams they can work with. Some people believe they might pull some people from NXT, but again, that's entirely a rumor. So, we'll find out that night of Survivor Series. The women's team, in Raw, you have Bayley, Nia Jax, Charlotte, and then two that are unnamed. I'm guessing one of those is probably going to be Sasha Banks, but you never know, especially after the Hell in the Cell and the things that she had to go through. It's hope for the best and expect the worst with this match. With SmackDown, you have Nikki Bella, Carmella, Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, and Naomi. It's nice to see Becky Lynch on this list because she was not expected back quite that early. But I think that it's nice to see a complete team like that. I think that they're in good shape and they'll probably end up the winners of the female match. Just because I think Team Raw is very generic. And if they let Raw win just because it's Raw, I'll be a little disgusted. Yes, the names on Raw are a lot more popular, and I mean a lot. But the teams on SmackDown are way more talented. I mean, like, way more talented. And the only two that are really super talented on Raw are Bayley and Charlotte. Nia Jax has been beating up jobbers for the last few months, which just disgusts me because that is such a misuse of her talent. We saw so much more from Nia Jax. In fact, her last match in NXT was against Asuka. And anybody who's a WWE fan and that's watching this knows that Asuka is an ass kicker. So I'm a little just disenchanted about Raw's picks for this match because they're very obvious. But I guess you could say the female picks would be very obvious from the get-go, especially with so many suspensions and people who are quitting and getting lawyers to sue the company to get out of their 3-year deal the way that Paige is doing right now. Yeah, good luck with that. Then you have what I've heard about Finn Balor, that Balor could be back in time, possibly, for the Rumble. And this is according to some of the things that he said on the Ross Report. That he wants to be back in time for February for the Elimination Chamber, but at the latest will be back for the Rumble. This is huge for Raw because Raw does not have the caliber of players right now that SmackDown has, which is why SmackDown is as superior as it is in the ratings. Balor is just a huge player, and his moves are so stunning. He's not a big guy. But he is a very agile guy. And I just feel, in my opinion, that you cannot run a show without your A-list players. You can't. And with Balor finally coming back from injury, which is a lot sooner than we had all thought. I mean, a lot of us were hoping, hey, maybe WrestleMania, Rumble at the latest. Or Rumble at the earliest, excuse me. But I just... February, that's early. And December would be even earlier. But I just think that I'm glad to hear that he's coming back so soon. I just hope it's not a mistake on his part. Now, for those of us that have heard about Austin Aries, I mean, there was a big picture that was put on the internet of him and his eye and how bad he got smacked up by Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, a lot of people think, oh, working with Shinsuke is bad and this and that. No, Shinsuke knows what Shinsuke is doing. But what had happened to Austin Aries is that he's going to be out for a few months. And he suffered what's called an orbital fracture. And this is... And basically, he's going to be out for a while because his eye is in bad shape. So he had to pull out of the tag team tournament, the Dusty Rhodes tag team tournament. However, what they did was they had TM61 pick one person and face Roderick Strong for their spot in the Dusty Rhodes tag team tournament. Unfortunately, for Roderick Strong, TM61 won in a singles match to advance. Now, here's how I feel like this. Apparently, this was supposed to be a platform for Roderick Strong and Austin Aries to jump into a big platform because apparently Roderick Strong is very famous, and in a previous podcast that we did, I mentioned a few of his accolades, and he has beaten a lot of great people that WWE currently own. Unfortunately, what happened was someone got injured, and so their platform was taken away from them. So, but TM61 has been in NXT for a little while, and letting them advance like this, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It can be a good thing for TM61. And WWE does need more established tag teams. So I'm not against letting TM61 advance against a team like this. I'm more curious what they're going to do with TM61 now that they have to face another team. I believe it's Sanity now because they also won. And their match was against it. Their match, unfortunately, was against TJ Perkins and Kota Ibushi. I'm a little disappointed because they are pushing Sanity through the roof right now. I think that allowing Sanity to beat Kota Ibushi and TJ Perkins was a mistake. I think that Kota Ibushi, allowing him to win this tournament, could have gotten him to sign with the WWE instead of letting him be a part-time worker. Unfortunately, that did not happen, and you basically now are hoping that Kota Ibushi will come back. I think that Kota might come back for another tournament-esque type thing, but unless that type of thing is opened up for him to do, I wouldn't expect to see a lot of Kota Ibushi. Now, TJ Perkins, we all know he's going to be a big player in the cruiserweight division, so I don't see him going anywhere, especially now that he's been signed. It's just a bit of a disappointment seeing Sanity go up against TM61, which will most likely see probably Sanity win. And that's because, DIY, Gargano, and Ciampa went up against the Revival. Now, the Revival, you had Scott Dawson come out and on quote-unquote crutches, and he wasn't injured. He basically told the DIY, that, I'm injured, boo-hoo, here's your victory. Like, they're going to make that team hungry for the Revival before they give them the tag team championships, which I guess makes for good TV, but a lot of people were looking forward to that matchup, including myself. Was it a mistake to not give us that matchup? Maybe. But we'll see what those guys do against the Authors of Pain, who also advanced. I think that one was pretty obvious. I mean, No Way Jose, those guys, they weren't going to do it. Rick Swann and No Way Jose, I like those guys as a tag team. I think that they could go a long way as a tag team, but there was no way they were going to get past the Authors of Pain. So now you have DIY versus the Authors of Pain, which is, in my opinion, one of the more interesting things that have happened in this tournament. So your semifinal match is probably going to be a huge match. So I'm not sure when they're holding the semifinals if that's going to be an NXT taping or at the pay-per-view. But either way, this is going to be a great match there. So uh, one of the other things I wanted to talk about was that Jericho and Kevin Owens are obviously going to be broken up by the end of the year. Yay. Because this whole, oh, I'm your best friend, yay, that's making me ill. It's like, just put them in Care Bears shirts already. Because, it's beginning to look stupid. And it's like, we're not stupid idiots, like Jericho says. This is really like, you're going to sneak your way into a cage. You look stupid. I honestly, that whole thing at Hell in a Cell, honestly, I just feel like it was unnecessary. It was putting, allowing Kevin Owens to get the upper hand on Seth Rollins in a way that was unnecessary because they could already use weapons. You didn't need a second guy in there. And that's why I'm glad that they're finally going to break those guys up because it needs to happen. Another thing on here is that Roman Reigns could be fighting in a title match against Kevin Owens sometime in the next couple months. Boo. I like Roman Reigns in the mid-card. I do. I think he's great in the mid-card. I think that he needs to win the fans over before they hand him the Universal title. And he has not completely won the fans over. You hear more fans going, boo, than you hear cheering for him. And that's a problem for me. Because I don't want him as my Universal Champion. If I have to be brutally honest, I want Finn Balor as my Universal Champion. The problem is that Finn Balor is more bench warming right now. And we have Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. And honestly, that's not a horrible choice to make between heel or face. But it's the only choice that we have to make. And the facts are the facts. When people get injured, it lowers how many choices you have as champion. And to allow Roman Reigns to get back up and slap the main title, back on him would be stupid. Yes, I know he's The Rock's cousin, but let's face it, he does not have that mic skill that The Rock has. He does not have that charisma that The Rock has. Hell, I'll even go as far as to say he doesn't have the ring skills that The Rock has. Because The Rock was always charismatic, not only on the mic, but in the ring. And you can't say that is the same about Roman Reigns. He's learning. He is learning. I'm not going to take that away from him. But you cannot, in my opinion, say that he is as good as The Rock yet, because he's not. And anyone that thinks that is a stupid idiot. I'll put him on the list. It's really lame. Now, there have been rumors of a Shield reunion happening. I said earlier that if it's going to happen, it'll probably happen at Survivor Series. I stand by that. as much as possible. Because if you have all three of those guys in that match, then you better have them tearing that match up. Because if you don't, then you're leaving people disappointed. Now, if this Shield reunion happens and Finn Balor comes back, say, in time for the Rumble, what do we get from the Rumble? And that is a big question that is on the minds of a lot of internet chat rooms and so on and so forth. Now, nobody really knows when Finn Balor's coming back. If it's going to be before December, or after January, or closer to WrestleMania. I mean, everything right now is ifs and buts right now with Finn Balor. But if he does come back in time for the Rumble, and because they want to slap that Universal title on him and fast when he comes back. If he does that, what does that mean for a Shield reunion? Are they going to put the Universal title on one of those guys? And I think you have to think about how the Shield work, because they went through everybody when they were together. So are they going to be able to do that again? That is really what you have to look at when you think Shield reunion. Now, another thing that has been widely talked about is that the week before Survivor Series is the 900th episode of SmackDown. The people who were booking this episode of SmackDown advertised The Undertaker as being at that episode. Now, is he actually going to be there? A few days after the quote-unquote SmackDown Live, because they didn't even have the appropriate couldn't even spell live correctly. They corrected themselves, and WWE admitted that Undertaker was going to be there. Now, is this going to be Undertaker's final Survivor Series? And more importantly, is this going to be Undertaker's final WrestleMania? A lot of people are wondering that. And a lot of people are wondering who his opponent will be at WrestleMania. There is absolutely zero proof out there of anyone as of right now. Everyone has their opinion. Everyone is saying things like Kevin Owens, like Sting, like Goldberg, but no one has any hard evidence of who it will be. But whoever it is, it will probably make a very big impact if it is, in fact, his last WrestleMania. I think that every Undertaker match at WrestleMania is usually an incredible match, and it's usually one that I want to see when I'm watching that program, because while droning on through 4 hours of content, it's one of the few things that makes that pay-per-view special is the Undertaker match. So we want to see that match. Now, another thing that I'd like to talk about is Corgan Watch 2016. Corgan lost in court this past week, and Corgan was denied Dixie Carter's 92% stake in the company. or excuse me, shares, whatever the fuck you want to call it. The bottom line here is that Billy Corgan is, however, gonna get paid $2 million. The problem? He hasn't been paid yet. So, and with TNA being insolvent, I think it's going to be a long time before he gets paid. This could lead to a lot of problems for TNA if he does not get paid. So, I don't really know what more to say about this one other than TNA, get your shit together, because they are going to start owing people a lot of money. Corgan has been removed as president of the company. That title now belongs to Dixie Carter once again. Boo! And unfortunately, Dixie Carter is unfortunately the president, and the rest of the lunatics are taking back control of the asylum. We are going to see TNA return to its worst state since 2009. The fact is that TNA just needs to fold or declare Chapter 11 bankruptcy, because they can no longer pay the debts that they owe. And they owe a lot of debts. I mean, this is a company that can't even pay its light bill for Bound for Glory and had half a match with half of the lights on. I mean, that is an absolutely terrible, terrible thing to have happen at what you consider your WrestleMania. The unfortunate part of all of this is that this company was supposed to be the competition for WWE, and now it's looking more like slim pickings for WWE, because they're probably going to pluck their talent roster and then let the company die, and then buy out its library, because a lot of its library contains things from Samoa Joe and AJ Styles. Bottom line, I think losing to Corgan is probably the final nail in TNA's coffin. So, for everyone here at Bros Doing Shows, I'm Gary Maloney, and this top guy is out.